My name is Eddy, Eddy Sorrow. My brother is Edmond Sorrow. He is my twin brother, my identical twin to be accurate. And our story is long, deep, tense, and full of unexpected turns and outcomes that changed my brother and I's lives forever. None could even comprehend how this could have happened, or why. Still little details have yet to be discovered. Though slowly into a journey of a young boy's life such as I, will reveal things that none would ever expect. This just comes to prove that even when you think your life has no meaning and just has little purpose to be like everyone else's, that changes. Fate twists and turns all the time, and my brother and I know this now. We have grown accustomed to these changes. We live and reside within an agency now, a spy agency to be more specific. The name of the agency is called SPA, or Secret Personnel Alliance. Though we don't know much yet about this agency. However, I am Agent 1, while my brother is Agent 2. We are recognized as this throughout the entire HQ of agents that we have yet to be seen or bother with yet, even if our role is far greater than we realized at the time. But how did this happen, I'm sure you're wondering. I'm here to tell you the story of my brother and I's lives and how it began. It was a clear night. Nothing seemed too erroneous. Clouds passing by while the moonlight would strike our window. The only light in our room, peaceful and quiet, just like every other night. Our parents would tuck us into bed and kiss us goodnight on the forehead, such tender, sweet kisses that any parent would give to say goodnight to their child. We both laid there, placid and tired, ready to greet our soon-to-be dreams that would come into our minds. It was slightly windy outside this night, which moved the curtains just so lightly, but nothing that was amiss. The moon was starting to rise even higher into the sky as Edmond and I closed our eyes and gently drifted to sleep. After a few hours, the whole family was asleep. The clock ticked as the time went by. Everything dark, crickets chirping, owls hooting at times, and the wind entering our room. Everyone was sleeping. Well, all besides Edmond. He was slightly afraid of the dark at the time since we were only around 5 years old. He would tuck his green cotton blanket over himself, only with his eyes revealed. His nerves got to him at every creak and noise in the house. He tried to ease himself, thinking everything was alright, and to remind himself there was no such thing as monsters. Though something really got his attention now, his eyes would slowly look up at the ceiling as he heard what he thought were footsteps. His little heart started to beat fast and he gulped. He was now shaken with fear and anxiety. No monsters. No creepy. There's nothing here. It's all in my mind. He looked over at my bed, seeing how I was still asleep. He heard the noise again and again, scaring him, not knowing the unknown sounds. To him, it sounded like someone was trying to crash in through the roof. That at any moment, he'd see an unknown figure crash into the house, which scared him even more. He held his own little breath. He grabbed his pillow off his bed and quickly got out of bed and ambled closer to mine. Eddy. He went by me and started to shake my shoulder, trying to wake me up. Eddy. He shoved me over and over again, hoping to wake me up from my slumber and to be there to comfort and ease him. Eddy, wake up. I rubbed my eyes and started to yawn, thinking that what could he want? That I figured he was just scared once again about something insignificant. Well, what do you want? It's 2 a.m. You should be asleep. I've heard something on the roof. I think it's a monster or something. There are no such things as monsters. Even Dad said so. Just go back to sleep. You'll see. Everything will be okay. Besides, it's probably just the wind you're hearing. Everything is in your imagination. Soon enough, morning will be here. Dad will make us breakfast, and we'll be off to school again like always. Nothing to fear. Promise? Promise. He took a breather and ambled back to his side of the room, still unsettled and nerved, but tried to take my word for it and went back to his side and back to bed. I took a sigh, and leaning watching him go as I begun to snuggle back down, even giggling at my brother's fears and worries, believing he was overreacting like he always does. Though just as we were both settling back down and almost back to sleep, this time we both heard the footsteps, but this time it was inside the house. We immediately sat up straight and Edmond was the most worried. I was thinking perhaps it was just Mom or Dad getting up, using the bathroom, or just getting a glass of water. Edmond thought otherwise. We both took a moment. Every so often another footstep, one after the other, creaking in the house even more. No, it couldn't have been Mom or Dad. It was too heavy. It was more of a slight pound when it would hit the carpet, almost like boots. Why then? Why wouldn't our parents wake up if it was someone or something? What? At this point, Edmond was downright frightened for his life, even looking towards me with his big blue eyes glimmering in the moonlight of the window, just staring at me as if he wanted me to do something about it. I must have been just as nervous as he was, terrified even. Eddy. I got out of bed and Edmond soon followed. We tiptoed over to our door. As we were walking, the cracks and creaks of the floorboard would happen, and I'd only beg for it to stop. Please be quiet. Be quiet. Once it was a good opening angle, we looked out. We saw something, definitely not our parents' shadows, but a male figure, two male figures in the darkness of the house, that would cast a shadow upon the walls and floors of the hallway, making it look like one big monster in the dark. We saw them as they entered our parents' room. We looked at each other, figuring the worst of things now. Edmond, Eddy. Edmond hesitated to walk out the door as I would slowly enter the hallway. As I walked away, he would begin to start to walk behind me, too afraid to be alone now. I can do this. We secretly and quietly went over to our parents' door and peeked inside through the crack they left open. In the darkness, all we could see were the shadows of these men. Soon enough, we saw a shadow that looked like a dagger. We were helpless as we heard the screams of our parents, a petrified scream that shot through our souls as Edmond clung to me, shaken and afraid. And then soon, it was over. Panic flew over me and I knew something was horrifically wrong. And if we didn't get out of there, we'd soon end up like them. Edmond's face was now covered in tears, not knowing what to do or how to understand any of this. Eddy. I made him follow me as we darted back into our room. Come on. I quickly scrambled to open the window even further so we could escape. Open. Open. I heard the footsteps coming our way as the strangers thought they heard something. I tried telling Edmond to hush. His crying was grabbing their attention. Edmond, please, stop crying. They hear you. At last second, it was fully open and we climbed out from the window pane and jumped down. We were lucky we had a ranch house, or that would have been a bad fall to take. Once on the ground, we ran off into the night. Where we were going, I didn't have a clue. All I knew was it wasn't safe there anymore. And now we were orphaned. We ran into the streets and alleyways of the city, busy, full of cars and people. We were trying to stay out of people's sight so we wouldn't be spotted. And even as disgusting as repulsive as it sounded, we even ate what other people threw away right after they were done with their meal. That was our only way to survive. We lived within trash cans. We lived within trash cans that were no longer used by anyone as well, just to keep warm. Some days we were lucky and found an abandoned building to sleep in when it rained. Our clothes were dirty, ripped, and full of debris from the city. We were skinny enough to see our ribs, though despite everything we were going through, I believe we were healthy enough to live. At least for the summer months. When the winter months came, I didn't have neither idea nor plan of what to do. My priority was looking up for Edmond. It was my last link to my family. The last thing I wanted for him was to die on me next. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want for the last bit of my family to disappear. Though I know I had to live too, or I don't even want to know what would happen to him. I didn't believe he would have made it without my help and support. If anything were to happen, I would be too afraid that he would succumb and surrender to death itself. So I had to live for his sake. We tried to make the most of things, trying to stay strong. We refused to go to the orphanage because I heard some twins are taken away from each other, and I'd be damned if we were taken away from my brother. So we hid away from society. We were the shadows of society that ambled along the streets at night. Some nights I had to calm Edmond from crying since we were still grieving over our parents' death. He wasn't used to living among the trash and rats that would sometimes be inside, hiding from everyone, not having a home, not having a normal life anymore. Please calm down, Edmond. Sleeping in the rain and storms, or old buildings that would scare him just the same with its noises, the noises that haunted him even waking to nightmare after what had happened, and the situation we were in now. I knew it was rough on him, but I didn't want him to make a sound, not knowing if anyone would hear us. Luckily, the city received a lot of storms drowning him out, and I would hug and comfort him as best as I could, reminding him we have each other. That's all we really needed, right? Was each other, and no one else. The winter months were almost upon us. I could feel it in the air as the leaves were changing colors. I was worried, frantic even. I sat at the side of an old garbage can that I left in the back away from everyone's view, while I looked at the changes of the season as Edmond tried to make himself comfortable within it. I sat there wondering what I could do. What could I possibly even do? Not a lot of food, no shelter, no medical care. Could we survive the winter months by ourselves? A couple of 5-year-olds trying to survive winter? Sure, perhaps the summer months, since it was warm out and no need for true shelter or even blankets. But winter? That's what worried me the most out of everything, making me now hate the season. I got up and huddled near Edmond, trying to keep us both warm. My strength and strong will were slowly deteriorating over time. My hope for survival was diminishing. I could only watch as my brother would slowly freeze and shiver in discontent. Cold, frosty air nibbled our noses, arms, ears, any exposed skin, really. Edmond and I were really huddling together now. Edmond always gave me this look. A look of, if we were really going to survive this. I nodded each time, saying through my eyes that we could overcome anything. If I gave up hope and even showed it to him, I don't know what that would do to him. The wind picked up and we were shivering. He tried to stay away out of people's sight still. Though the minute Edmond sneezed, my heart skipped a beat. I didn't know who was walking around today, and it was broad daylight. So many people could have been walking the streets. People that would visit the city to view its autumn atmosphere. To walk in the crisp afternoon hours in their sweaters and scarves, like nothing was wrong. That everything was perfect. My brother and I now envied that lifestyle. But knowing how many people were roaming about, I would hold my breath hoping no one would take notice. But someone did. It was by this stranger. He was walking by the alleyway. He caught a glimpse of us from the shadows. He was a tall man, I'd say at least 6 feet. He had brown eyes, but the weird part of it was, that's all you could see. The rest was hidden within a black outfit. Even his skin was so black and dark that you couldn't see anything but the outline of him. Though I could only barely see that he must have been wearing a really long trench coat, maybe? And even a scarf that was blowing in the wind. And the most noticeable thing was his hat, but I couldn't see the colors. They were all darkened as if he was one big shadow person. And even though he showed a gentle smile, I knew looks could all be too deceiving. He started to walk closer to us as we backed away. The fact that we couldn't even see him scared us half to death. Edmond worse than me, shaking in complete fear. As he walked, he would examine us, getting a good sense of who we were. As he looked, it seemed he had sympathy and empathy, but my mind wasn't on his expression. It was on protecting my brother at all costs. I was practically angry and irritated. I even showed it. And he saw it, which changed his expression. He wasn't confused, but he almost looked surprised. I kept Edmond in the back of me, thinking it was going to happen again. I wouldn't allow this to happen again. I would have to think fast if he were to even make a move on us. He looked down at us and finally asked,
"What a peculiar sight." One wouldn't see such a thing in the city, or at least not in plain sight. Especially since children, if alone, aren't usually roaming the streets like this. They're taken to the orphanage and raised there. To see such tiny boys roaming around, well, it was the last thing I thought I'd see today. But I suppose regardless of that, the real question here is, who are you two?
I gulped and gained the courage to speak back. What's it to you? He stood up straight, admiring what I had to say. That I wasn't even intimidated. Just leave us alone. We've been through enough already. We're no one, okay? But if you want to kill us, kill me instead. Just spare my brother. Edmond looked at me as if I were insane. No, kill me, not him. I wouldn't survive without my brother. He'd make it. I know he would. Just spare him at least. No, Edmond, you're all I have left. I wouldn't. We both glared at each other, thinking the worst was going to happen. But then we heard a chuckle.
Oh.
We looked at each other. We didn't see what was so funny. I was almost insulted. How could anyone find this humorous? Edmond would hide behind me as we would stare at him. He was smiling. Perhaps he thought of it as a sick game, a sadistic game of children trying to survive. At this point, I knew I couldn't trust him. If he was laughing at our misfortune and our fears, then what was there to trust? I demanded, What's so funny, guy? You think laughing at two little boys who lost everything is funny? Not living amongst rats and roaches trying to live is all but humor to you? Careful, Eddy. We looked up at him as he answered.
Not at all. If anything, I do realize what you two must be going through is a horrible fate to have. But the reason I'm chuckling is because it's just... it's like something out of a story.
Huh? He explained.
Two small boys among the streets trying to survive. Living and trying to conquer the hardships without the world knowing of their own existence. Such a tale that would make. Would it not? You two are really quite courageous and brave to be in this type of situation. Any other child, well, most would succumb already, sadly hearing of another death on TV. But you two brave individuals who refuse to die, are living even in these terrible conditions, seem to be for the most part still kicking. Even you, a small boy like yourself, and the bravery you showed to talk against me, and to protect your brother is something most admirable.
We're all we really have left. I don't want to lose my only brother, especially not my twin.
Mind telling me of what happened, child? What caused this all to happen, even in the first place?
I hesitated for a moment. Should I really tell him our story? Should I really reveal to this stranger who we are? I looked over at Edmond and all he could do was look down and shrug. I took a sigh and gained the courage to walk up to him as he knelt down to listen. I would just look at him as he looked at me, waiting. I looked away trying to think of the words to say to explain everything to this man. I know I shouldn't have, but at the time, what did I have to lose? As I explained, he nodded while examining everything, intrigued by our tale. When I was finished, I looked up at him, practically startling him. So if you want to kill us, go ahead. It's not like we have much to live for after this, and I'm not even sure if we'll even live through the winter, so I guess we would die either way. He chuckled, responding,
Kill you? No, not at all. I know I am nothing but a stranger to you two, and have every right to feel intimidated and fearful of me. A man you don't even know, and my looks can certainly make one back away immediately. However, I am not at all who you think I am, and I think I have better plans for you two. How should I put this? You two are quite unique, to say the least. And I'd be a bastard. Let's just say I'd be a man against my morals if I left two little boys to fend for themselves any longer. I have very special plans for the both of you.
How would we know this? How do we know you're not going to... How do you know this isn't a sick lie? A sick game?
I wouldn't think twice of it. You will soon realize who I am and what I do. Again, I would be a man against my good moral calling if I did anything cynical or sinful. No. Instead, I will take both of you in as my own, if you accept. But in the harshness of the winter months that will soon be upon you two, I think you will have no choice but to accept this offer. You even said it yourself. You didn't know if you would survive those months ahead. I can give you what two little boys need: a real meal, a warm bed, shelter, and a roof over your head with clean clothes. And you two will have a great responsibility far beyond what you can think now. Think of it this way, little boys. Fate led me to you. Don't mistake it.
What's fate? He looked down, remembering how young I was. Not used to usually answering these kinds of questions, and tried to interpret it for us.
Fate is, well, the very instance of what had happened to you to become this way. It's a tad complicated to explain. So in better terms, God led me to you. He has plans for you boys. He knows you had suffered long enough. He saw your strength, and today he accepted you too, and I, to find each other, and for I to take you in, to take care of you the way two little boys should be taken care of, and have your lives restored back to some normalcy. Do not reject his gift of mercy, nor even my own generosity. I offer you a home to stay, to raise you to. Will you really not accept that? I think one would in this circumstance. I promise you I am no evil sort, or you'd be dead by now, or I'd leave you to never look back. So, little ones, will you accept this?
Edmond and I looked at each other. Edmond wasn't quite sure, and neither was I. Sure, he made quite the forceful argument. His voice was even calm, almost welcoming. Almost how our own father's voice would sound, but more on the wiser side, like a gentle giant talking to us. Mixed feelings overwhelmed us, and in all honesty, I felt too tired to fight back anymore. We sighed, thinking even if he lied, even if he deceived, even if he was something that we were afraid of, even after everything he had to say, we finally caved and accepted his offer. We slowly grabbed his hand as he would walk us out of the alleyway. I felt the warmth of his gloves. It's been so long. I almost felt weird holding an adult's hand. I was raised to never trust strangers, nor even really much talk to one. Deep down, I really wanted to believe his words were true, especially if that meant Edmond and I would have a home again. Any home sounded nice. Sounded heavenly. Besides, we'd die one way or another anyway. We really had nothing to lose out of this. So if he killed us, well, it was either going to be him or winter itself. So it was a real risk I was willing to take. He looked down at us and saw that we were afraid, our eyes looking downward, too intimidated to look up at him directly, not knowing our next destination ahead. However, he knew we would soon adjust and learn about who he was. Well, partially. But we'd learned that he was nothing to be afraid of. Actually, much, much more than that. Though as we were walking, I felt odd, almost like an overwhelming feeling of just being so tired. I believe I overdid it. I normally kept my energy just right so I could walk around to find food or shelter. It's been so long since I talked to anyone for so long. Even just yelling took so much out of me that I even stumbled onto my knees, startling the two of them. Eddy? Eddy! The stranger immediately got down worryingly and asked,
Are you all right, child? You were just fine a second ago.
I tried to think rationally and only could conclude to one thing of just how tired I was. Responding with, I think I just overdid it.
Overdid it? What do you mean?
I normally save all my energy to find, food, shelter, and that's it. I don't remember the last time I talked for so long. Or even yelled either. My brother and I were mostly silent all these months. I think I just overly tired myself. I'm sorry, but I can't walk at the moment. Can you give me a minute at least? If that's okay? The man looked at me with sympathy. Truly I was in no shape, skinny like a skeleton, knowing that I've been through hell and back. He knew I wasn't going to be in good physical condition, but wasn't expecting to see me fall to my knees either after that. Then again, after some realization, perhaps it was warranted. He became stern and his voice more serious in tone.
You won't have to walk any more than you had to these last few months, child.
He then startled the both of us when he picked both of us up. Even saying calmly but sternly,
I will carry you to your new home. And from there, I will take care of you. You two have suffered long enough. Relax yourselves. I promise my life you are safe now. There is nothing more to fear.
After hearing him say that, I can't explain it, but I wanted to cry. But almost happy-like. I still had no clue who he was, but I almost now in this moment believed him. I couldn't explain it. He was like our father when he smiled, but our mother when he talked. A literal two-in-one of our own parents, which is all I could have asked for in our situation. Even feeling so safe and warm in his arms. After freezing for so long, my body warmed up with emotion, but in the best of ways. I closed my eyes on his shoulder and said softly to him, I believe you. Making Edmond look at me surprised along with the stranger who wasn't expecting that. He smiled happily and contently, answering back in the same tone.
I'm glad.
He walked us to his home, which would then be our home. And ever since that fateful day, he's been our master. Though most importantly, and even better, he's been our new father.